On New Year's Day, envoys from the Gu family arrived to propose marriage. They sought not to wed me, Gu Songjin's childhood sweetheart, raised together since infancy, but my legitimate younger sister. Summoning my courage, I evaded the servants and pursued him outside the estate, demanding an explanation. A gentle smile lingered in his eyes, unchanged from before. Yet he said, "Shinkai, my feelings for you are solely those of a brother and sister, nothing romantic." Puzzled, I countered, "You've never even met my legitimate sister before. Where, then, would romantic feelings come from?" He paused slightly, then spoke slowly. "Xingying's reputation precedes her, beautiful and intelligent. She is the perfect choice to become the matriarch of the Gu family." Hearing his resolute tone, I thought I understood his meaning. I looked up at him. His posture stood firm as a pine tree, neither humble nor arrogant, bearing no trace of the downtrodden figure I remembered from Qingzhou years ago. "So, you never intended to marry me. You only wanted to use me as a stepping stone to the Xing family, correct?" Before Gu Songjin could answer, the matron in charge of the household caught up with us, accompanied by several attendants. She shot me a dismissive glance before barking at a maid standing nearby. "Hurry up and escort the eldest young miss back to the manor." Turning back to me, her eyelids drooped lazily, yet her posture remained perfectly upright. "Young miss," she said, "Master Gu is currently discussing marriage with the second young miss. Even if you shared some acquaintance with him during your time in Qingzhou, such an abrupt meeting outside the manor is simply improper. Our Xing family holds propriety in the highest regard." The word propriety was deliberately emphasized. I narrowed my eyes, studying her. Truly the favored one before the Xing family's matriarch, she'd mastered the art of handling people down to the last detail. "Beside us." Gu Songjin's expression darkened instantly. His tone turned icy. "Nanny, watch your words." He was usually gentle, yet now he carried an aura of authority that commanded respect without needing to raise his voice. Jiang Maomao froze, then instantly understood. The man before her was no longer some obscure scholar from the backwoods. He was the golden science champion personally selected by His Majesty the Emperor, a future Hanlin Academy official and close advisor to the Emperor, with boundless prospects. Moreover, he was currently discussing a marriage alliance with the second young miss. If any mishap occurred on her end, given the madam's temperament, she'd be skinned alive. Her face drained of color, cold sweat pouring down her brow. I found it rather amusing, such were the Xing family's ways. Cowardly before power, yet bullying their own kin. "Kneel, you rebellious daughter." In the main hall, father raged. He snatched the lid from the teacup and hurled it at my feet. I turned my face away just in time to dodge the flying shards. The first lady hurried forward to soothe him, her face etched with worry. "Master, Kair has only recently returned. It's only natural she's unfamiliar with the capital's customs. If blame must be assigned, it falls on me, her mother, for failing in my duty to guide her." As she spoke, she lifted a handkerchief to dab at the corners of her eyes, where no tears existed. Humph. How absurd to blame the mother when the eldest sister errs. Shining sat composed below, her delicate face clouded with displeasure. It must be said, those three truly looked like a real family. As for me, ever since my birth mother passed away 10 years ago, I've been nothing more than an insignificant person still bearing the Xing surname. At the age of 6, after offending the stepmother, Lady Shen, my father, in a fit of rage, had me sent back to our ancestral home in Qingzhou to be looked after by my grandmother. For the next 10 years, he never once inquired about me. Now he rushes to bring me back to the capital. To say there's no ulterior motive, I simply won't believe it. I straightened my back, lifted my face, and met the gaze of the figure on the high dais without flinching. What wrong has my daughter done? That man was clearly my father. Yet in his eyes, I saw not a shred of affection. Wretched creature. You knew perfectly well that the Gu family came today to propose marriage for Inger. Yet you disregarded a daughter's dignity by chasing after them and wrestling with Gu Songjin outside. How do you expect outsiders to view our Xing family? How do you expect them to view your sister? He furiously shook off the First Lady's hand, strode down the steps, and struck my face hard with a backhand. I fell backward, crashing to the floor. My ears rang. Warm liquid trickled from the corner of my mouth. A salty, metallic taste spreading across my tongue. I lifted my head in disbelief, staring at the cold, merciless face before me. All hope vanished. Did father not know? Gu Songjin and I were betrothed long ago, back in Qingzhou. Given the current situation, if I didn't ask for clarification now, wouldn't I be inviting even greater ridicule later? No sooner had the words left my mouth, Xing Ying leapt to her feet from the chair, her fluttering sleeves accidentally knocking over a plate of freshly peeled lychees the maid had just prepared. Each fruit was plump and round, crystal clear and translucent, likely fresh from the capital, rushed here by express horse this very morning. A rare delicacy beyond price. A pity not a single one graced my courtyard. She snapped fiercely. What nonsense are you spouting? How could brother Songjin possibly be betrothed to you? Have you lost your mind? Making such wild accusations? The eldest madam joined them, a fleeting look of impatience flashing in her eyes. Yet she put on a face of broad kindness and compassion. Kyr, do you harbor resentment toward your mother? You are older than Inger, and by custom, your marriage should have been arranged first. But the Gu family's proposal came unexpectedly, something your mother could not have foreseen. If you feel wronged, speak to your mother, but do not tarnish your own reputation recklessly. Her expression was flawless, feigning concern for me, but I knew she wished me dead in Qingzhou, never to return. My very existence reminded her she was merely a later arriving stepmother, while I occupied the position of Xing Ying's legitimate eldest daughter. 10 years ago, I was just a 6-year-old child. Yet she couldn't tolerate me. With a simple scheme, she persuaded father to send me far away. Now, the tree has grown tall. Her position in the Xing family is unshakable. In her mind, manipulating me must feel as easy as crushing an ant. After casually wiping the blood from my lips, I took a jade pendant, not particularly fine in quality, from the sachets at my waist. I handed it to the man before me. Father, this is the token. Everyone in the Gu family recognizes it. Before Xing Zhongyan could take it, Xing Ying strode forward and snatched the jade pendant from my hand. She slammed it onto the floor with a loud crack. I don't care about any token. I'm marrying Gu Songjin. She shook Xing Zhongyan's arm. Father, I don't like sister. Send her back to Qingzhou. Nonsense. His voice carried a soft rebuke, yet his gaze was utterly indulgent. A stark contrast to the icy demeanor he'd worn moments before. So it wasn't that he lacked paternal affection, he simply withheld it from me. He turned his face, fixing me with an impatient stare. Return to your quarters. Whether this is true or false, you are forbidden to speak of it again. Your marriage has already been arranged by this official. Stay quietly in your courtyard and learn proper etiquette diligently. If this happens again, this official will show no leniency. He referred to himself as this official, not father. His eyes no longer held any trace of his daughter. Gazing at the jade pendant shattered into pieces on the ground, my hands clenched tightly at my sides. If that's the case, then I have nothing left to hold me back. Minister Wang of the Ministry of Revenue, nearing 40, lost his first wife to illness half a year ago. He now seeks a new wife to manage household affairs. Many vie for his favor, eager to climb the social ladder. Yet Minister Wang is a peculiar old man. He disdains those of low birth, finds plain faces unappealing, and rejects any slightly older than himself. I suspect this is the marriage my father arranged for me, and the reason he brought me from Qingzhou. Using me, his stepdaughter, to cement ties with the Ministry of Revenue is a shrewd bargain. No one cares whether I consent. They don't even need to inform me. I can no longer rely on Gu Songjin. Now, I must save myself. In September, Xingying and Gu Songjin's marriage was finalized. To prevent complications, on every day the Gu family visited, the First Lady would arrange for me to be confined within my courtyard under various pretexts. Forbidden to step outside. I seemed to have learned my lesson, never causing a fuss. After the Gu family departed each time, Xingying would come to my small courtyard. Like a proud peacock, she flaunted the gifts Gu Songjin had bestowed upon her. So what if you've known brother Songjin for 10 years? His heart and eyes are filled only with me now. You'd best stay quietly in your place and not covet what isn't yours. Whether it's father's affection or brother Songjin's adoration, they belong solely to me. I nodded. Then I wish you eternal fulfillment of your desires. She eyed me suspiciously, seemingly dissatisfied with my response. Humph. You'd better mean it. She flicked her sleeves and strode off, her pride undimmed. In late September, the annual Imperial autumn hunt commenced. I knew my chance had come. The First Lady had initially refused to take me along, disliking my public exposure for fear of trouble. But this hunt would also be attended by Minister Wang. Father immediately decided I should dress well and accompany them. On the day of departure, Gu Songjin was already waiting before the mansion. He stood beside the carriage in a jet-black riding outfit. Tall and graceful, his bearing was clear and bright. Brother Songjin, you came to fetch me. Xingying lifted her skirt and skipped happily to his side. Lifting her face, she gazed at him with a radiant smile, her eyes brimming with light. Worried she might stumble, Gu Songjin extended a hand in a gentle, unspoken offer of support. His eyes lowered, a warm smile playing on his lips. What a perfect pair. After the formal greetings, his gaze seemed to fall on me almost by accident, then quickly shifted away. I stood beside my father, perfectly composed, my expression utterly still. I had known since my mother passed away. Never pin your hopes on another. Human hearts are fickle, especially men's. If Gu Songjin didn't want me, then I didn't want him either. All that happened in Qingzhou before, let it be nothing but a dream of the past. The hunting grounds lay in the western suburbs. By the time we arrived, many officials' wives had already gathered. My father, the current chancellor, stood at the pinnacle of power, thanks to his towering influence. The moment we stepped from the carriage, we were surrounded by a crowd of noble women. Noticing my unfamiliar face, some inquired curiously. Madame Shen simply introduced me as the eldest daughter of the household and said no more. Every face in the field was sharp and calculating. When they turned to me, their fervor visibly cooled. The noble ladies swarmed around Xingying, showering her with flattery until she beamed with delight. Only I stood apart, seemingly out of place. With father absent, Lady Shen couldn't be bothered with appearances. She let everyone ignore me, making it clear, even as the eldest daughter of the Xing family, I could make no waves in the capital. How amusing! Very well. Then, I would show her. I, Xing Kai, would stir up the winds of change in this imperial city. Following ancient custom, the annual autumn hunt featured prizes. The greatest prize came from the emperor himself. The winner could make one wish, provided it did not overstep boundaries. The emperor would grant it. The first day of the hunt, the vice minister of rights stood atop the platform, calling out names. Those summoned were mostly young nobles and privileged sons of the capital. dressed in splendid robes and mounted on fine steeds. There were also standouts like Gu Songjin, who had distinguished themselves in the recent Imperial examinations and sought to make their mark here. Yet without exception, they were all men. Each stood tall and proud, eyes burning with fervor, faces radiating eagerness. When the final name was called, a momentary silence fell over the crowd. People exchanged puzzled glances. Eyes filled with confusion. I saw Father, seated solemnly below the young emperor, suddenly darken in expression. Among the crowd, the dignified lady Shen looked flustered, darting her eyes around. My lovely and innocent younger sister gaped, eyes wide. I even caught sight of Gu Songjin, his gaze fixed on me, dark and inscrutable, tinged with a hint of panic. Who is Shinkai? The emperor tilted his head slightly, turning to ask my father. Throughout the entire court, there is only one Shing family, and among the male heirs of this generation, the eldest is but 7 years old. Before my father could answer, I stepped forward from an inconspicuous row and performed the grand bow. Your Majesty, this servant is Shinkai. Today, I wore a sleek black outfit, my hair pulled high into a tight bun. At first glance, I appeared indistinguishable from a man. You wicked daughter! What nonsense are you making here? Get out immediately! My father leapt to his feet first. Furious. Usually cautious. He was now flustered, failing to notice the slight frown on the face of the one seated high above. The emperor was present. When had it become the place for a mere subject to shout reprimands? I recall now. Shinkai, the eldest daughter of the Shing family. Raise your head and speak. He ignored my father's reaction, his appraising gaze settling on me. My father, realizing his own indiscretion, stood there uneasily, caught between advancing and retreating. I lifted my head to look at the figure seated high above. The young emperor's face was like carved jade, his eyes cold as stars. His straight nose and thin lips radiated an innate arrogance, his majesty self-evident. The moment he saw my face, his form trembled slightly, a flicker of something unusual in his eyes. But in an instant, he regained his composure and spoke calmly. Explain. What is this about? Your Majesty, the autumn hunt has no prohibition against women participating. This humble maiden, though unskilled, has spent 10 years in Qingzhou, where I learned archery and horsemanship. Having just returned to the capital, I wish to seize this auspicious occasion to try my luck. My casual tone drew several snickers from the crowd, likely mocking my presumption. The figure on the high dais narrowed his eyes, a hint of amusement playing at the corners of his mouth. For a moment, I felt a pang of worry whether this risky gambit would hold or fall entirely on his whim. Just as my heart began to race, he suddenly curved his lips into a smile and declared loudly, "Approved." Only then did he seem to notice my father, still waiting anxiously nearby, and added with a playful sneer, "Chancellor, you've certainly raised a fine daughter." I imagined father must have wanted to strangle me in that moment. What a pity! The risky gambit had paid off. He'd likely never get another chance like this. Shouldering my bow and quiver, I spurred my horse into the dense forest. Passing the crowd, I glanced back. I didn't miss Shinsher's venomous glare. She was likely plotting in her heart how to tear me limb from limb once the autumn hunt ended. I offered her a mocking smile. I'll be waiting. The fierce wind whistled past my ears, the long-missed scent of freedom. Leaning low on my horse, I moved with the ease of a weary bird returning to its nest. Today's top prize, I must claim it. Draw the bow. Pull the string. Release the arrow. Each shot struck its mark with unerring precision. Not a single miss. The onlookers waiting to see me fail fell silent. One by one, I spurred my horse deeper into the woods. But someone followed close behind. In a secluded spot, I reined in my horse and eyed the newcomer coldly. Mr. Gu. Pursuing me so relentlessly from behind hardly seems like the brotherly affection you speak of. Gu Songjin's expression faltered, then shifted as if he hadn't heard, his eyes brimming with concern. Xing Kai. What are you trying to do? The capital's power dynamics are treacherous, one misstep spells ruin. Even with your father as chancellor, he won't shield you if trouble arises. Why can't you simply stay safely in the inner courtyard? I couldn't tell if his naivety was laughable or foolish. What peace could there be within the walls of a noble household? Do you know why Chancellor Xing brought me to the capital? He looked puzzled, unsure of my meaning. Didn't Xing Ying tell you? Chancellor Xing intends to offer me as a second wife to Minister Wang. Is this the peace you speak of? He froze, his body trembling slightly, eyes wide with shock and disbelief. Seeing I wasn't joking, his grip on the reins tightened. How dare he? A mocking smile curved my lips. Then how dare you? Gu Songjin. 10 years ago Xing Zhongyan abandoned me. Now you've made the same choice. In my heart, you're no different from him. Perhaps stung by my words, his expression betrayed hurt. Bitterness spread across his lips. Ah, Fu. I never once intended to hurt you. Not even the slightest bit. But some things left me no choice. His single word, ah, Fu, shattered my coldness. I watched him silently, waiting for him to explain his reasons. Facing my questioning gaze, he opened his mouth, but ultimately turned his head away, saying not another word. I sighed inwardly. I believed I had given our relationship a chance. But he didn't trust me. To say I wasn't hurt would be a lie. Right now, my heart felt like it was being devoured by a swarm of insects. Outwardly calm, but inwardly, it was tearing me apart. I recalled that year when I first arrived in Qingzhou. My grandmother didn't care for me. She dismissed a maid to watch over me, then cast me aside, never inquiring again. She didn't even know I'd been lost for months by that maid. It was Gu Songjin, just 8 years old, who picked up the pitiful me and brought me home. Back then, I hadn't yet recovered from the grief of my mother's death, drifting through life in a daze. When he extended kindness to me, I clung to him like a drowning person grasping a lifeline. I stuck to him like glue, always tugging at his sleeve and hiding behind him. Back then, he was still the young master of the Qingzhou prefect's household, pure and kind-hearted. He named me Afu. He allowed me to be his little attendant, taking me everywhere to play each day. It wasn't until months later that a maid from the Xing household finally found me. He threatened with borrowed authority. If anyone ever bullied me again, he vowed to make them pay dearly. In Qingzhou, every prominent family showed some deference to the Gu household. Thanks to his deliberate care, my days in Qingzhou weren't too difficult. Had misfortune not later befallen the Gu family, perhaps we'd be galloping horses and singing songs in Qingzhou today, living carefree and unburdened. My thoughts circled back, yet the person before me still refused to elaborate. My heart hardened once more. Having made our choices, our paths now diverge. As for what I intend to do, you can no longer stand in my way. Can you? Brother-in-law. His eyes reddened at my address, and I felt a strange, vindictive satisfaction. Without further hesitation, I turned my horse and began pursuing new prey. Ah, Fu. The wind howled fiercely, and I faintly heard someone's cry. It no longer mattered. When the hunt ended, my horse was laden with prey. An adult crimson mountain deer followed behind. It was too beautiful, I couldn't bring myself to kill it. My hair fluttered wildly in the wind, my clothes stained with blood. Yet my heart was filled with unparalleled joy. I knew I had one. I lifted my face toward the figure on the high seat, waving the trophy in my hand. In that moment, I felt an almost excessive recklessness. As if the long-suppressed, deep-seated emotions had finally found an outlet. Reveling in this fleeting sense of relief. "You bastard! Good!" Simultaneously with father's loud rebuke came cheers from the man on the high seat. He seemed almost excited, rising to his feet and clapping repeatedly. Father's face turned a ghastly shade of pale and dark, his expression ominously grim. The rage threatening to erupt was forcibly stifled. The Emperor cast a glance at father before fixing his gaze back on me. "Tell me, what reward do you desire?" Our eyes met. His brow and eyes held a smile. A light seemed to dance within them. He paid no heed to my discourtesy. I nodded, feigning deep thought. Out of the corner of my eye, I caught sight of Gu Songjin beside me, his body rigid, lips tightly pressed together, brow furrowed in a deep frown. What was he worrying about? Before I could speak, Xingying stepped forward and affectionately hooked her arm through mine. Her face wore a coy pout as she said, "Sister is so kind to me. Knowing my wedding to brother Songjin is at year's end, she wanted to help me request an imperial gift for good fortune." "Thank you, sister." Her tone was innocent and joyful, as if it were truly the case. I couldn't help but chuckle. What a thick skin she had. Seeing this, Madame Shen also wore a beaming smile. She took my other arm. "Seeing your deep sisterly bond brings mother great comfort. Kyr, you've truly thought of everything." The two of them, singing in perfect harmony, had already made the decision for me. The crowd couldn't help but join in, praising our sisterly affection. They were utterly convinced. At this moment, I could only go along with it. They still didn't understand me at all. I forcefully wrenched their hands away from me. Their expressions froze, smiles stiffening on their faces. Their hands still clutched mine, secretly tightening their grip. Too bad strength is the least remarkable thing about me. After pulling them apart, I fixed my gaze firmly upward. "Your Majesty, this humble maiden wishes to enter the palace." Hearing this, the man paused, then burst into hearty laughter, declaring loudly, "Granted. Xing Kai, eldest daughter of the Chancellor, is hereby granted the rank of Imperial consort. She shall enter the palace in 3 days." My heart skipped a beat. The Empress's position remained vacant. Imperial consort was the highest rank available. Why was he being so rash? My father was likely even more astonished than I. He hadn't been without thoughts of sending Xingying to the palace. After all, imperial relatives belonged to a different class altogether. Yet the new emperor guarded against him at every turn, and the Xing family's daughters had never been within his consideration. Father had finally given up hope. Now, it was this adopted daughter of his who, without lifting a finger, ascended to the position of imperial consort. How could he not be overjoyed? Caught between profound sorrow and immense joy, his smile looked more painful than tears. Suppressing the strange feeling in my heart, I thanked him and stepped aside. The gazes of those around me began to shift evasively, avoiding direct contact with mine. Wherever I went, people bowed 3 inches lower. So this, it seemed, was the power of authority. Madame Shen and my dear sister, seething with anger yet unable to speak, clenched their teeth in frustration. To my eyes, it was rather pleasing. Zhuo Songjin, however, seemed utterly lost in thought, staring at me in a daze. He might have imagined I'd beg for freedom, for protection, even for a royal match. But he never dared to think I would enter the palace. After all, I had once cherished him so sincerely. After the autumn hunt concluded, I returned to the estate with father first, awaiting my entry into the palace 3 days hence. His Majesty assigned a martial arts-trained female guard to protect me and allocated a separate imperial carriage for my use. The Emperor's grace was boundless. On the journey home, the Chancellor's carriages all followed behind mine. I departed as a daughter of the Xing family, I returned as sovereign and subject. I wonder what he feels now. A faint smile touched my lips. The real drama has only just begun. May his heart still have the strength to endure. How my mother died, I have never forgotten a single day. After returning to the estate, the maids and servants who once fawned and groveled before me were nowhere to be seen. Even Lady Shen deliberately avoided me. Only Xingying seemed oblivious to the shifting tides. She strode into my chambers as if no one else existed, surveying the space like a territory to be claimed. Spotting the exquisite phoenix and cloud vases father had sent, she flung them to the floor in fury. Only when the shattering sound echoed did she feel a flicker of satisfaction. Lifting her chin, she sneered at me. You're just a country bumpkin. What right do you have to use such fine things? Don't think climbing high puts you above me. In this household, you'll never surpass me. Before I could speak, Xian Yue, the guard accompanying me, stepped forward and swiftly delivered 2 sharp slaps across her face. How dare you? What are you? To speak so insolently before the Imperial consort? Those trained in martial arts possess strength beyond ordinary people. Within moments, Xingying's fair, delicate face swelled high. Her eyes brimmed with tears. But she was too accustomed to her spoiled ways to know restraint. She immediately raised her hand, ready to strike back. But Xian Yu seized her by the throat, immobilizing her. The harder she struggled, the tighter Xian Yu's grip became. Only when her face turned crimson, her eyes bulged, and her breathing grew labored, did fear finally dawn on her, sending shivers through her body. The look she cast my way now held a mix of panic and pleading. I paced slowly toward her. My fingers traced her flushed, swollen cheeks. Debts must be repaid to their rightful owners. Truthfully, we have no personal grudge between us. Had you behaved properly, you might have enjoyed a few more days as a courtesan. For this nominal sister, I harbor neither deep affection nor bitter hatred. Whether she was spoiled or arrogant, that was her life. I gave Xian Yu a subtle nod. She understood and released her grip. Without support, Xingying collapsed to the floor, coughing and gasping for breath. Upon receiving the news, Madame Shen rushed in. Seeing Xingying lying there in such a pitiful state, her lips trembled with fury. How dare you? She's your sister. I nodded, fixing her with a cold stare. Yes. She is my sister, my biological sister. Born a month before me. Right, madam? At this, she froze as if struck by lightning. A smile touched my lips as I held her gaze. You didn't think what you did back then would go unnoticed, did you? Watching her horrified expression, I felt thoroughly satisfied. I stopped speaking. Killing someone is quick and clean, but the best way to torment a person is to keep them in endless fear, constantly doubting. The stolen decade of good fortune must now be repaid, bit by bit. I handed Xian Yu a dowry inventory list, instructing her to arrange for every item to be gathered exactly as listed. Should any piece be missing, the Shen family would pay compensation in silver. My mother had been the daughter of a wealthy merchant in Jiangnan. When my father met her, he was merely a penniless scholar. His tuition fees were scraped together from every possible source. Perhaps growing up in a merchant household naturally predisposed mother to favor the scholarly gentleman. Add to that father's exceptional talent and silver tongue. In the end, mother found herself deeply ensnared, unable to extricate herself, unwilling to see her daughter endure the hardships of a distant marriage. My maternal family prepared a lavish dowry. That dowry, even by today's standards, would be a staggering fortune. It was precisely this dowry that paved my father's path to the clouds. According to the laws of this dynasty, a bride's dowry is her private property. Should she pass away, it is inherited by her son. As fate would have it, my mother had only me. Now, I must sort things out properly. Seated upright in the main hall, I held a cup of freshly brewed hot tea. Before me lay a tray bearing lychees sent by the Emperor this morning, along with several palace pastries. I sampled one, exquisitely sweet. Father sat solemnly below, watching maids and servants file in and out as if preparing to empty the household. His face was ashen, yet he dared not erupt in fury as he once did. He merely suppressed his anger and asked me, "What are you doing? There's no need for you to take charge. Your mother will prepare a respectable dowry for you herself." The mother he referred to was, of course, Lady Shen. "Once you enter the palace, our fortunes will rise together. The imperial harem is fraught with thorns at every turn. Your family is your most reliable support. Do you understand?" I lifted my eyelids, casually flinging the cup in my hand aside. The teacup overturned, spilling its contents everywhere. His veins bulged as he gripped the armrests of his throne chair tightly. A faint, cold smile touched my lips. "Father, do you still remember my mother?" At the mention of my mother, his body stiffened abruptly. He replied uncomfortably, "Your birth mother departed over a decade ago. Our household has relied entirely on Lady Shen's management. If you truly care, do not speak of her again." I nodded, rose to my feet, and gazed down at him coldly. I spoke, enunciating each word. "Chancellor Sheng, do you know that on that night 10 years ago, I was in my mother's room? On that night 10 years ago, I had quietly hidden inside the wardrobe in my mother's room, intending to play a prank on her, but I accidentally fell asleep. In my daze, I heard Father's voice. They were arguing. When I emerged from the wardrobe, Father had already left. Mother lay collapsed on the floor, a shattered wine cup beside her. The spilled wine mingled with crimson blood, a sight so jarring it pierced the heart. I screamed in terror. It was Mother who, with her last ounce of strength, covered my mouth. She told me, "Leave the Sheng household. Return to Jiangnan." In the grand hall, Father abruptly rose, his dark, fierce eyes fixed intently on me. I met his gaze without flinching, seeing a flicker of murderous intent in his eyes. I felt relieved. Father and daughter though we are, I truly feared I might show mercy. "Consort, the palace is treacherous. Exercise utmost caution. Thank you for your advice, Chancellor. I shall bear it in mind." He snorted coldly, flung open his robe, and strode out. Mother's dowry was brought out, nearly depleting half of the Sheng family's fortune. Xing Zhongyan was consumed by ambition, while Lady Shen lacked business acumen. For years, the household's income had come almost entirely from the profits of the hundreds of shops and estates included in Mother's dowry. I truly felt it was a shame for Mother, and I pitied her deeply. Perhaps Xing Zhongyan never truly cherished her, the passionate affection back then was merely an illusion he crafted. With her as his wife, he no longer needed to worry about money. His sole focus became climbing the ranks. Yet when he reached high office, he began to feel his mother, a merchant's daughter, was beneath him. Her very existence constantly reminded him of his impoverished past. Thus, he came to hate her, yet refused to relinquish the wealth he had acquired. He conspired with Lady Shen to bring about my mother's demise. When Xian Yu arranged for all the dowry to be carried out, Lady Shen's face darkened terribly. Nearly every item in her chambers was a rare treasure brought by my mother years ago. Even her carved rosewood canopied bed was dismantled and carried away. Xing Ying's quarters faced a similar fate. Xinshi finally couldn't hold back, gritting her teeth and snapping, "Your Highness, as the saying goes, one should always leave a little room for others." I gave Xian Yu a subtle nod. Without a word, she stepped forward and delivered 2 swift slaps to Xinshi's face. "Why are the Imperial consort's belongings in your quarters?" Say another word, and you'll have to return every penny you've taken these past 10 years. Xuanyue's temper, ready to strike at the slightest provocation, was truly a comfort to the heart. Sister hasn't even entered the palace yet, and already acts so brazenly, ruling with an iron fist, disrespecting elders, showing no kindness to younger siblings. Doesn't she fear this will tarnish the Imperial family's reputation? Xingying stepped forward to support Lady Xin, her voice brimming with indignation. She seemed to have forgotten yesterday's lesson. Yet as I took a step toward her, she shrank back, trembling. Her eyes betrayed unmasked fear. I halted beside them, a faint smile curving my lips. Guess why His Majesty sent Xian Yu back with me? He fears me, afraid of dirtying his own hands. Madame Xin, overcome by rage, collapsed unconscious. Xingying's sobs grew louder. On the day I left home, the palace sent an escort to fetch me. Palace maids presented robes befitting an imperial consort. Seated before a bronze mirror, I lifted my gaze to study the reflection. A splendid robe, radiating grace and nobility. Hair like billowing ink clouds, piled high in a towering bun, adorned with pearls. I almost didn't recognize myself. Your Imperial Highness truly possesses the beauty of a celestial being, peerless in grace and splendor, the hairstylist praised, helping me place the final 9 dragons and 4 phoenixes crown upon my head. I furrowed my brow slightly, but she pressed my hand down, signaling me to relax, saying only that it was the Emperor's arrangement. At the mansion's gate, Xing Zhongyan and the household staff had been waiting for some time. As I stepped out gracefully, his expression was complex, while the Xin family mother and daughter could not hide their envious gazes. We bid farewell to the Imperial consort. I gave a slight nod and stepped toward the palanquin. As palace attendants lifted the curtain, my bowing posture froze. Someone was inside. A figure clad in bright yellow brocade robes waited quietly, gazing at me with a smile. His eyes were gentle yet profound. He extended his palm toward me. I paused, then smiled softly before taking his hand. With calm assurance, I stepped inside and sat facing him. Your Majesty, you've gone to the trouble of coming here personally. He shook his head. It's no trouble. I recall telling you my name 2 years ago. When we're alone, you may call me Xiaoyi. He gently stroked my fingers. Ah Fu, has entering the palace caused you any hardship? My thoughts scattered. 2 years ago, Xiaoyi was still crown prince, handling affairs in Qingzhou. Then the late emperor fell gravely ill and urgently summoned him back. Their convoy was ambushed at Three Gorges Pass. This place is treacherous, easy to defend, hard to attack. When they were surrounded and utterly exhausted, I happened to be passing by and shot my way through to clear a path for their escape. I know Three Gorges Pass well. Ever since I began training in horsemanship and archery, I often spent entire days darting about here. That day, after leaving behind those to hold the fort, I took him and 2 guards. We weaved through the various back roads of the Three Gorges Pass, successfully guiding them out before nightfall. At the time, I was still dressed as a man, and he did not notice. He said his name was Xiaoyi, and if I ever faced trouble in the future, I could go to the capital to find him. Before parting, he asked my name. After a moment's thought, I left behind the name Afu and hurriedly rode away. I still had to find Gu Songjing. Inside the carriage, he watched me quietly. Afu, that day during the hunt, you stood in the field in your riding attire, dashing and spirited. I recognized you at a glance. Back then, things were urgent, and I never properly thanked you. I'm truly delighted you came to the palace. I lowered my gaze, a smile playing on my lips. How could I not know? When I saved him, I hadn't thought much of it. But when he said his name was Xiaoyi, Xiao being the Imperial surname, I realized locals in Qingzhou might not know it. Yet it instantly became crystal clear to me. I'd come to the capital intending only to seek his promise. But through a twist of fate, I entered his harem instead. Seeing the longing in his eyes, my heart softened. I clasped his hand in return. I, too, am overjoyed. Everything has unfolded with surprising ease. Far smoother than I had anticipated. Xiaoyi is an exceptional emperor. Perpetually occupied. Border defense intelligence. Public welfare and water conservancy. Official evaluations. He personally oversees every matter, deliberating deeply before making decisions. When I first entered the palace, eunuch Zhang said, he seldom visited the harem, often staying late reviewing memorials and resting in the side chambers of the Golden Hall. Yet since my arrival, he has come daily to dine with me. Sometimes, he even has his attendants bring memorials to my palace. At night, he reviewed memorials while I read travelogues. Occasionally, he would ask my thoughts on matters concerning the people. I answered what I could, but when questions touched upon state affairs, I would simply shake my head and remain silent. For the first few days, I felt somewhat stiff, but he seemed unconcerned. In my presence, he never referred to himself as I, treating me as if we were an ordinary married couple. Yet I knew life would not remain this tranquil forever. Today, he picked up a memorial and studied it for a long time. His gaze finally settled on me. Afu, you've been in Qingzhou for many years. Have you heard of Gu Songjing? The candle flame flickered before me. I gently adjusted the wick, lifting my eyes to meet his. My tone remained calm. Xiaoyi, I wish to be open with you. Gu Songjing and I have known each other for 10 years. His expression froze, as if he understood something. He remained silent for a long moment, his emotions impossible to read. I sighed softly, stepping beside him and picking up the inkstick beside us, grinding it carefully. He once saved my life. Without him, I might have been a mound of yellow earth somewhere in Qingzhou by now. Nor would I have met you 2 years ago. Our relationship isn't what you imagine. He is now my father's chosen son-in-law. His expression softened slightly as he set down his brush. His arms slipped around my waist, lifting me to sit upon his lap. His face pressed against the hollow of my neck. His voice hoarse. Ah Fu. I trust you. His fine, dense stubble pricked my skin, sending a shiver through me. A strange feeling stirred within me. He seemed genuinely moved. One arm held me close, while the other unfolded a memorial before me. It was Xing Zhongyan's petition, recommending Gu Songjing for the position of Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. He asked for my opinion. I knew he was testing my feelings toward the Prime Minister. After all, Xing Zhongyan and I were father and daughter, bound by blood even when bones were broken. Perhaps the time had come. I gently released his arm from around me, rose to my feet, and knelt before him. Your Majesty, this servant also has a petition to present. Seeing my solemn, upright posture, he reached out to lift me up. I remained motionless, only straightening my spine to look at him. Your Majesty, this humble servant accuses the current Chancellor, Xing Zhongyan, of embezzlement, bribery, treating human lives as straw, framing others, and plotting to harm officials of Qingzhou. His expression abruptly changed, his brows furrowed, his eyes shifting unpredictably. After a long moment of contemplation, he fixed his gaze upon me. Do you have evidence? I do. Xing Zhongyan's crimes are too numerous to list. Even if every bamboo stalk in the realm were used to record them, he trampled countless lives to climb to the position of Chancellor. He basks in the glory of his high office without a shred of remorse, showing no pity for the lives he destroys. My mother was merely his first stepping stone. As for Gu Songjing's parents and elder brother, they were innocent victims sacrificed to his political machinations. He didn't even know their names. With a mere whisper in the capital, he had the entire Gu household slaughtered. That day, I had pestered Gu Songjing to accompany me horseback riding. Upon our return, the Gu family compound lay strewn with 73 corpses. No one survived except him. Even the 2 guard dogs had their heads severed. At that time, Gu Songjing was 12, and I was 10. He went mad for a long time. Everyone said bandits from the Three Gorges Pass had committed the atrocity. He believed it. Trained relentlessly in martial arts, and then spent his days wandering the Three Gorges Pass. Fearing for his safety, I accompanied him on every journey, coming and going together, until 2 years ago, when he abruptly tempered his nature, abandoning martial arts for scholarship. From that day onward, he avoided me daily, refusing to see me. I once thought he feared burdening me, until I overheard grandmother speaking with my eldest uncle in the mansion. Your brother worked hard to clear the path for you and secure this position. You must assist him diligently so he may ascend to greater heights. Yes. After Gu Songjing's father met his end, my eldest uncle took over as prefect of Qingzhou. I hadn't given it much thought before. Now, all my doubts suddenly connected into a single thread. Never before have I loathed being born into the Xing family, bearing their blood so intensely. When Gu Songjing went to the capital for the Imperial examinations, he didn't inform me, but I knew he was going to seek revenge. The man he sought was Xing Zhongyan, my father. It was I who schemed, contacting the old servant at the Imperial residence in the capital, the one who had once received kindness from my mother. I had her whisper into Shinshi's ear, stirring her desire to manipulate my marriage. I understood she couldn't bear the thought of me living comfortably in Qingzhou. Sure enough, within 3 months, father sent men to fetch me to the capital. In the Golden Phoenix Hall, sis.I, his face twisted with fury, slammed several letters onto Xing Zhongyan's desk. These letters contained years of secret correspondence between him and his elder brother, Xing Zhongyu. Within them lay plots of embezzlement, perversion of justice, factionalism, and even bribing bandits to commit murder. Among them was the case involving the Gu family. Xing Zhongyu was a man of deep suspicion. He had preserved every letter, fearing the day his own brother might turn on him. Little did he know there was another lurking within the family, me. In the old Xing residence, no one ever took me seriously. This made my work considerably easier. Had Gu Songjing trusted me and treated me with candor, this evidence would have reached him immediately. He wouldn't have had to scheme against Xing Zhongyan, his sworn enemy, day after day, groveling before him, or even use himself as bait. After 10 years together, he still doesn't trust me. I understand, because I bear the Xing surname. He never will. Even if I expose everything and lay the evidence before him, he'll suspect it's a trap I set with Xing Zhongyan. After all, he'll never comprehend. Some toil endlessly, driven solely by the blood-soaked vengeance for their fathers. Others exhaust their minds and bodies, striving only to see their own fathers brought to justice. I had no other path. Fortunately, sis.I believed me. When the tree falls, the monkeys scatter. Xing Zhongyan had long wielded tyrannical power within the court, amassing countless enemies. Now that the opportunity has come, memorials accusing him flood sis.I's desk like swirling snowflakes. He will never rise again. Before Xing Zhongyan's execution, I went to see him in the dungeon. Seeing me, he flew into a rage and cursed. Fool! Wretch! I regret not strangling you to death back then. Don't gloat. Do you think a daughter of a convicted traitor will have any good days left in the harem? I'll be waiting underground to see how miserably you die here. The rantings of a madman on his deathbed meant little to me. I gently brushed a snowflake from my robe. Winter had arrived. I looked at him coldly. You are the most foolish person in this world. You betrayed my mother's true heart, yet spent your entire life raising another's child. He froze, then burst into laughter. You pitiful creature. Deprived of a father's love your whole life, jealous of your sister until you've gone mad. Haven't you? In my heart. You don't even measure up to a single finger of your sister's. Watching his deranged expression, I found it somewhat amusing and decided to indulge him. I'll have someone bring in Mrs. Shin shortly. Remember to question her thoroughly. Is Xing truly my younger sister? Or is she the elder sister born a month before me? You spent your entire life scheming and deceiving countless people, only to be deceived by those closest to you for a lifetime. Truly, karma comes full circle. When you meet your end tomorrow, my mother will settle your affairs properly. She will watch over me, ensuring smooth sailing for the rest of my days. Ignoring his furious outburst, I calmly walked out. Years of pent-up resentment slowly dissolved within me. Outside the prison courtyard, Gu Songjing stood in the courtyard, umbrella-less. Snow and wind fell upon his shoulders, whitening his hair. The moment he saw me emerge, a smile touched his lips. His eyes brimming with tears, a sorrowful, lonely smile. I stood beneath the eaves, gazing at him from afar. Now, we have no standing to walk side by side. The palace sedan chair arrived. I bowed my head and stepped inside. As we passed each other, I lifted a corner of the curtain, whispering softly, Brother Songjing, Afu owes you nothing now. Upon returning to the palace, Xiao-yi was unusually free from duties. He dismissed the maidservants and personally helped me out of my cloak. He placed a warm stove in my hands. Had Afu's heart not finally unraveled? A sudden thought stirred within me. I tilted my head back, reaching up to caress his face, tracing it gently, from his eyebrows to his eyes, from his nose to his lips. He seemed surprised and taken aback. I seldom initiated such intimacy with him. Don't call me Afu anymore. Let that name stay in the past. His gaze softened as he looked at me. He reached out to smooth the strands of hair the wind had tossed across my forehead. I don't mind. From now on, you are only my Afu. I also wish you a lifetime of blessings. That afternoon, Xiao-yi didn't attend to his duties. He spent the entire afternoon in the hall, keeping me company. He shared with me, in detail, some heartfelt thoughts I had never known. He said that 2 years ago, during that incident, he had discovered I was a woman. He admired my courage and chivalry. He also sincerely thanked me for extending a helping hand, allowing him to see the late emperor one last time. After ascending the throne, affairs became overwhelmingly busy. He had even sent people to Qingzhou to search for me. But clues were scarce, and there was no word for a long time. During the last autumn hunt, he was overjoyed at our first meeting. When I returned triumphant, holding my catch and laughing freely at him, his heart suddenly trembled. Like a long still lake disturbed by a pebble, ripples spread across its surface. When I expressed my desire to enter the palace, even though he knew full well I held no romantic affection for him, he still found himself unable to suppress a surge of joy. He spoke at length. I believe his feelings in that moment were genuine. In the past 17 years, few have cherished me so deeply, or expressed their affection so plainly. Now, all is settled. The deed is done. I choose to briefly indulge in this moment. As for the future, I never expected to be the sole recipient of an emperor's affection. As long as I remain sufficiently clear-headed, the nation will prosper, and peace will reign across the 4 seas. The rest of my days within these palace walls will be good days. The end.